What's going on, Perform24 family? Levi Jaeckel here, back with another video. Welcome to the future, welcome to 2021, and welcome to the prison yard at Perform24 here in Tampa, Florida. I wanted to film this video outside because it's such a nice day and I need a little vitamin D. Okay, so today's the first day of January in 2021, and today I want to give you some practical tools that I've been using for years with my athletes, years with my clients, to help them organize these different priorities of life. So I'm assuming that a lot of you guys right now are kind of thinking about, maybe some New Year's resolutions. Personally, I don't use like New Year's resolutions as like a big motivating factor. However, I know a lot of people are, and that is great. So I wanted to give you some extra things to think about as you are working through your resolutions. If you've been following me for a long time, or if you've been following Perform24 for a long time, you understand that we care about your life outside of the gym just as much as we care about your life inside the gym. I personally am a big believer that progress in the gym and improvement in the gym is worthless if your life outside the gym isn't thriving as well. So I don't care who you are, how old you are, I don't care what your profession is, I don't care what stage of life you're in. We all kind of have these universal priorities, and those priorities are physical, personal, professional, psychological, and purpose. So as you're sitting down and kind of thinking about what you want to accomplish this next year, or how you want the next year to go, I'm going to throw some questions to you about those different priorities that I challenge you to think about. And this is kind of like a critical thinking exercise. This is something I use with clients all the time. Sometimes this comes out in an eval, and then sometimes it comes out over the course, of our time together in the gym. Okay, so let's dive into this, starting with priority number one, physical. What does physical health mean to you? What does physical fitness mean to you? What does physical performance mean to you? What role does your physical capacity play in your overall life? Like, if you're an athlete, obviously your physical capacity is how you make money. And so that answer is going to be a lot different for a competitive athlete than it is for somebody that, like me, who just, wants to train hard because I value my body. And then finally, do you have any specific goals, right? Some people do have specific physical goals that they need to accomplish, and some people are a little bit more general. Either way is right, but I think that you certainly should know which camp you fall into. All right, so let's move into the personal priority. Consider all the different levels of relationships that you have in your life. Like, I kind of think of them as like rings that are slowly expanding out, right? You've got your immediate family, or if you aren't married yet, you've got your roommates, or your family back home, or whatever it may be. But you've got your immediate circle, and then you've kind of got these expanding circles of maybe it's colleagues, or maybe it's teammates, or maybe it's coworkers or neighbors, or people you see around your community. But kind of consider all of these different levels of relationships that you have in your life. Consider who are the people that depend on you, right? Does anybody depend on you for anything? Maybe consider who are the people that you depend on. Who are those people? Do some of those relationships in those different circles need to grow deeper in the next 12 months or so? Or maybe the opposite. Maybe you need to distance yourself a little bit, right? And then finally, how are you building new relationships? How are those circles expanding and getting deeper just in general, right? Are you meeting new people? Are you experiencing new people? Or are you kind of in your own little bubble? Let's talk about your professional life for a second. What are you working on, right? What is your work? Are you proud of your work? Do you do good work? Does something need to change in your professional life? And this is pretty common. Maybe you're working too much, and maybe you need to scale back on that, right? Are you putting way too much effort and attention into your professional life and kind of neglecting some of these other parts of life? That's a really common one that I have with a lot of my adults, is that they're just consumed by the work that they do. And this is a question that will catch people off guard pretty frequently, but what's next? What's the next stage of your career look like? Have you thought about what's next? You know what you're working on right now, but what are you going to do after that? That's something that you should think about a little bit. And then psychological. So the psychological priority is a little funky. So, we can talk about rest, we can talk about mental health, but we can also talk about creativity. Are you creating anything? Are you creating something new? Do you have a hobby that you're pursuing? Is there new skills that you're learning? Also, are you a member of a community? Are you interested in being a member of a community? And it can be something, like a face-to-face group, or it could be even, as we've learned in 2020, it could be something virtual. But are you actively engaged in community? Taking care of your mind is just as important as taking care of your body. We all know that, but sometimes we don't know how to organize that psychological priority. And then finally, purpose. So how do the previous 4 priorities, physical, personal, professional, and psychological, work together to drive an overarching mission or an overarching purpose? Have you thought about the role that you play in other people's life, right? Have you thought about that role? Have you thought about your purpose in other people's life? So do you think about things like legacy? These are all questions that I will ask. Sometimes it's not quite as formal as like a sit down and like go through all these different things with somebody, but these are questions that I'll ask kind of here and there over the course of maybe 4 or 6 or 8 weeks that will kind of like pull ideas and pull concepts and pull game planning out of people that maybe they didn't know that was there, or maybe that they hadn't thought about before. And I think that that's kind of the purpose of this video, is just to give you some things to think about as you are planning 2021, as you're looking ahead, as you're trying to build better expectations for yourself and build better habits. These are just questions to think about as that process evolves. Sometimes you're not going to have an answer for all of these, which I think is totally fine. And then also you'll find this, that if you go through an exercise similar to this, annually or semi-annually or something like that, you'll find that your answers will evolve and they will change. And that, I think, is also very healthy, right? So I would encourage you, if you're going to do like some type of New Year's resolution or some type of, I like to call it expectations. I don't want to know what your New Year's resolutions are, but I want to know what your expectations are. If you go through some type of practice like that, I would highly recommend you save that and you capture that, and over time you kind of see how these different priorities evolve. If you want my specific questions, some of the questions that I just asked, I do have like a 2-page worksheet posted on my blog. I'll put that link below. You can just go download the PDF and kind of work through this on your own time. Before I go, I do need to say that if you're stuck or if you don't know where to start with the physical, right? Start with your physical priority. Your physical priority is a very practical and it's a very tangible way to start making change. So start with your physical priorities, iron those out, identify what your physical health means to you, identify how you can improve it, and start with that. You can start with that tomorrow, right? And that's kind of how we get the ball rolling and get the momentum rolling on some of these more vague or ambiguous topics. But at the end of the day, I want to see you thriving in every area of your life. I hope you guys had a great new year. I hope you are looking forward to 2021. I'm certainly looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do with the upcoming 12 months. And as always, train hard, live full. See you in the next video.